A former bad boy rapper who was once the protege of Sean Diddy Combs is speaking out on his former mentor in the wake of his sex trafficking arrest. Former Bad Boy Records rapper turned politician Moses Barrow, better known by his stage name Shyne, isn't shying away from how he really feels about the mogul, saying in part his former mentor ruined his life. The two have a seemingly complicated relationship after Shyne was sentenced to prison for nearly a decade, stemming from a shooting involving Combs and his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez. So let's go back to the beginning. In 1998, Shyne was freestyling in a Brooklyn barber shop when he was discovered by hip-hop producer DJ Clark Kent, who was working on Biggie's posthumous album Born Again. The DJ took Shyne to Bad Boy Studios, where Combs, who was then going by Puff Daddy at the time, signed him on the spot to his record label. Combs took the budding rapper under his wing, and at the time, he was on his way to having a thriving rap career. But everything would change just a year later. In the early hours of December 27th of 1999, Puffy, his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez, and a 21-year-old Shyne went to a nightclub in Times Square. While there, an argument over a spilled drink broke out between Puffy and a man named Matthew Allen, aka Scar, a Brooklyn gangster, who reportedly wasn't impressed by Puffy boasting about his money. According to former NYPD detective Derek Parker, the then Puff Daddy was throwing money around and acting like a big shot, and Scar felt disrespected by his antics. Parker said after words were exchanged between Scar and Puffy, bullets began to fly. 3 bystanders were shot and injured inside the nightclub. After the shooting, Puffy, along with his girlfriend Jennifer Lopez, his bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones, fled the club. They later took police on a chase with Diddy's driver, blowing through several red lights. When they were eventually pulled over and when police searched the vehicle, they found a 9mm handgun in the trunk. Combs, Lopez, and Jones were all arrested. Lopez was released after 14 hours in custody. Diddy was indicted on the charges and faced charges of criminal possession of an unregistered gun and attempted bribery for allegedly trying to get his bodyguard Anthony Jones to claim the weapon was his. So it would be the music mogul, his bodyguard Anthony Jones, and Puffy's protege Shyne who would all go to trial. Prosecutors say it was Matthew Scar Allen, Combs, and Shyne who all drew guns and claimed that Shyne shot 3 times into the packed nightclub. Witnesses testified Scar started the argument with Combs and said he threatened to kill Shyne. Shyne, meanwhile, said he acted in self-defense, as he maintained he had fired into the air and didn't believe that it was the bullets from his gun that injured the bystanders. At the trial, a ballistics expert testified that the 3 injuries may have been caused by a second gunman. The expert testified that at least 1 injury may have been caused by a .40 caliber weapon, and .40 caliber shell casings were found on the floor, and Shyne had a 9mm. In 2001, Combs and his bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones were acquitted on all charges, and while Shyne was acquitted of attempted murder, he was convicted on charges including assault, reckless endangerment, and criminal possession of an illegal weapon. The bad boy rapper was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but released in 2009 after 9 years. After Shyne's release, he was deported to Belize for being a non-citizen felon. The following year, he moved to Jerusalem, where he changed his name to Moses Michael Levi. Then 3 years later, Shyne returned to Belize and began his political career, now elected as the leader of the opposition in Belize's House of Representatives. During a press conference last week, the rapper, now politician, was asked about his former mentor in the wake of his sex trafficking arrest. Shyne told reporters, "This is someone who destroyed my life." He went on to say, "This is someone who in a sense testified against me when I was on trial. I was defending him and he turned around and called witnesses to testify against me. He pretty much sent me to prison." While the former artist said he forgave the mogul and moved on, he acknowledged Diddy's efforts to help promote education in Belize, but has distanced himself from his former mentor. He said, "This is not someone who I vacation with and I enjoyed this great intimate relationship of brotherhood. This is someone who destroyed my life." When asked about Diddy's freak-offs that were mentioned in Diddy's indictment and previous lawsuits, Shyne replied in part, "I have nothing to do with Sean Combs' personal life. Everything was strictly on a professional level." Shyne went on to say, "Do I take any satisfaction in what he is going through? Absolutely not." Diddy and Shyne's relationship seemed amicable in the recent years. The two performed together last year in Europe, and in August of last year, just 3 months before Cassie's jaw-dropping lawsuit was filed, which arguably signaled the beginning of the end for the mogul, Diddy posted this photo to his Instagram page with him and Shyne. The caption reads, quote, "Words cannot explain how proud I am of Shyne. It's truly remarkable to see everything he's gone through and to see him turn his life totally around and get on the path to making a positive impact on his country and his people. His reelection is a major victory for him, hip hop globally, and the people of Belize. Next stop, Prime Minister's office. We're not going to stop until my brother is the Prime Minister. I believe in you. I love you. I'm proud of you, Shyne. But while appearing cordial on the surface, it wasn't the first time Shyne has spoken out on the nightclub shooting. In a 2022 episode of Drink Champs, Shyne said at the time he didn't blame Diddy for the conviction as much as he did in the past, and said he even went through a stage of bitterness. He explained at the time, in retrospect, he blamed the conviction more on the lawyers who were advising Diddy. During the trial, Diddy's legal team was composed of high-profile lawyers, including Johnny Cochran, who famously worked on the O.J. Simpson case. Shyne added Diddy's lawyers were there to secure a not guilty verdict by any means. During Shyne's trial, Diddy's high-profile lawyers did not work on his then protege's case. During that 2022 episode of Drink Champs, Shyne said Diddy was a $100 million corporation at the time, and his team looked at Shyne as the enemy. He explained that both of them were about to lose everything, but added he didn't have as much, and Diddy is a musician with an empire. Shyne said when your lawyers are misleading and misguiding you, that's how everything fell apart. Shyne said Diddy apologized and told him he shouldn't have listened to his lawyers, and Shyne forgave him. The 1999 nightclub shooting has renewed interest in the wake of Diddy's legal issues and subsequent sex trafficking arrest. In March, one of the nightclub shooting victims, Natanya Rubin, said in an interview with News Nation it was Diddy who shot her in the face that night. She said she was facing Diddy and his crew when they pulled out their guns and she saw Diddy shoot her in the face. That claim struck a chord with Shyne, who previously told reporters just this year, it opens wounds when you hear the victim saying that it was Diddy that shot her. That was what was most remarkable. Then in an interview 2 months ago, Rubin alleged Diddy placed a bounty on her head after the shooting, which forced her to uproot her life. In an interview published by The Art of Dialogue, the Brooklyn native claimed a confidential informant told the district attorney's office there was a bag on her head, forcing her to leave for her own safety. The 99 shooting was also mentioned in Rodney Jones Jr.'s lawsuit against Diddy. Jones alleged Diddy bragged about using Jennifer Lopez to smuggle the gun into the club and claimed J-Lo passed Diddy the gun after he got into an altercation with Scar. Through attorneys, Diddy has denied Jones's allegations and have not responded to Rubin's claims. It's unlikely their allegations into the 99 shooting will prompt another investigation. But after Diddy's sex trafficking arrest last week, a federal judge did rule to keep the disgraced mogul in jail until trial, in part due to allegations he has tampered with witnesses in the past. He pleaded not guilty to charges including racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. And the hip-hop mogul will remain in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn awaiting trial. This is a great time to bring on a great guest, and that's attorney Offie Patterson. Offie, thank you so much for being here. Now, Diddy's been making headlines once again in the wake of his arrest last week. While a lot of famous faces have been relatively quiet, one person previously signed to Bad Boy Records did come out and kind of speak against his former mentor, and that's Shyne. What's your reaction to him saying that Diddy ruined his life?
I think that I saw a few clips of him talking about it, and I just felt like he was able to finally exhale. I think he felt vindicated, and I think he just went back to his 21, 22-year-old self and just gave himself a handshake and a hug. And I think he just felt like just saying, finally. He started with, he was a very, very talented teenager. There was a bidding war to acquire his talent, and he ended up choosing Bad Boy. And I think, what he meant by ruin my life was he felt that he ruined his life. He had a promising future. He was a 19-year-old kid when he signed on with Bad Boy. And, he's looking at the course of his life and what happened in the course of about 3 or 4 years. And he feels like, that part of his life, of course, was ruined.
What did you make of Diddy and Shyne's relationship prior to the shooting?
I think it was probably a relationship of employer employee, mentor mentee. I think for Shyne, in addition to those two relationships, he probably looked at him as a big brother, somebody that he could learn from and someone he could grow with. And, I think it was probably definitely for Shyne a deep relationship. I think Puffy, we've always seen him as a businessman. And I think, his relationship was definitely, business. May have been a little paternal, who knows? But for Puffy, I think it was very much so priority one business.
And what did you make of their relationship after the trial? Now, Shyne was sent to prison. He was sentenced to 10 years. However, Diddy and his bodyguard, Anthony Wolf, were acquitted on all charges. Do you think that the mogul used him as a pawn when it comes to what was going on during the trial and even the aftermath?
In the aftermath, I think we saw there was a little bit of acrimony. There was, of course, Shine was frustrated because he was sentenced to some serious time, and Puffy and his bodyguard, I think Wolf was, they were both acquitted. So of course, there's going to be a little bit of frustration there on one side. Um, whether he used him as a pawn, I really don't know, but I do know that during the trial, rereading some of the transcripts and some of the coverage at the time, I was wondering why their trials weren't severed. Something that Shine said, which was interesting, was he believed that Puffy's exposure, and by that I mean what he could have been sentenced to if found guilty, his exposure was minimum. He believed that he could have been on papers, which is, probation if you're convicted. Whereas Shine's charges, they were going to always carry prison time. Shine had a juvenile criminal record, and we saw that during the sentencing phase of the trial after he was convicted, they read out his juvenile record. They even read, some lyrics from some of his songs. So, I think that Shine always felt that there was some inequality there. And Shine even talked about the fact that, Puffy put on a witness that basically exonerated Puffy and drove a nail in the coffin in Shine's case. And I think, he felt like he was a little bit of a pawn. And I think, Elizabeth, you and I have talked about this before. Sean was a young person. He didn't have a huge coffer. Who was paying for his criminal defense? I know Shine's defense attorney said that the checks came from him, but who was paying Shine? Who recommended the attorneys? Where did these attorneys' loyalties lie? That's probably what Shine was thinking.
And Shine has long maintained he didn't shoot the victims. I think back during the trial, he said that he just fired the weapon up into the air, but didn't actually shoot any of the victims. And one of the shooting victims, Natanya Rubin, has claimed Diddy was actually the one who shot her. Given the totality of what's happening now, do you think their allegations have more substance, given Diddy has been accused of paying off witnesses and using his money and power to essentially get what he wants?
So I think we've been told that definitely during the trial, one witness made a statement to police officers the night of the shooting, but when he got on the stand during direct, he completely changed his story. He was challenged on cross examination, and he admitted, "Oh yeah, I did change my story." We've seen recently when Dawn Richard made her. When her filing became public, we found out during Diddy's bail hearing that he called, I think, Kalina, someone that was working with Don, 54 times in one day. And we've heard that he often calls people over and over again. And there's been, witness intimidation recently. So why wouldn't we believe that there's been some sort of witness intimidation? Like that might be his history. That might be his pattern. Excuse me. So it's definitely believable.
And we've spoken also previously about the 99 shooting. And I remember you saying at the time you didn't think an investigation would reopen into the shooting. But given his arrest, do you think it's possible witnesses from either the shooting or the trial who have allegedly been paid off by Combs could come forward? And if so, would that be used against him in the sex trafficking case?
I think that's dead. I think that's done. It's all been put to rest.
Are you surprised that celebrities haven't come forward to denounce Diddy in the wake of his arrest?
No, I said this the other day. A hit dog hollers, "Be quiet." Like, what do you expect people to say? We talk about, other celebrities and people have come forward. From my recollection, I don't remember people coming forward to necessarily denounce the person who's been accused. I do recall them, or what sticks in my mind is people coming forward to say, shame on them. I too have been victimized by this person, or this is my experience with that person. And I think we've been seeing that in the forms of these lawsuits, and for me as a person who's been following this case, I've definitely seen it in the blogs, and it's been not from necessarily people who have major names, major gravitas, but victims, real people, people who've been close to him, people who've worked for him. They've been ringing the alarm a lot recently, since the Ventura filing in November of last year, but just throughout all this time, they've been ringing the alarm. So I think, and they're just as valid as these huge names that people are looking for. And what's kind of frustrating to me is people are looking for these huge names to denounce Diddy. Why? I think these smaller named people are these ordinary citizens off the street, or these people who have been impacted by him. They're just as valuable, just as worthy.
And are you surprised that, we've spoken a number of times about the Diddy cases and in the lawsuits that he has faced previously, but are you surprised this is actually all culminated in an arrest and that Diddy is actually behind bars now as we speak?
No, I knew it was coming. Probably the first quarter, I knew it was coming. Definitely knew it was coming when his homes were raided. Because how it works on the federal level, it's not. There's a difference with the state and the federal level when you want to get a search warrant. Usually on the state level, it's enough if you have a detective signing off, on a sworn affidavit, going to a judge saying, "Hey, I need this information." But on the federal level, a federal judge, he wants something from an assistant U.S. attorney. So once you have, once you're in the crosshairs of an assistant U.S. attorney, they're not going to stop. It's so I just knew this arrest was coming. I am surprised that the charges basically mirror um, Cassie's lawsuit. I definitely thought there would be much more. I thought there would be definitely more financial crimes. I thought that it would just be a little bit more expansive. So I do think that it's pretty narrow and interesting, even though they say the investigation is ongoing. I thought it would be a lot more.
And do you expect that someone like Shyne, who was even previously just signed to Bad Boy Records, that he could testify in the sex trafficking case? Do you think that's at all a possibility?
I don't know because it was so long ago, and I think that they gave the AUSA gave the scope of time that they're looking at, and his affiliation with him, his intimate knowledge of him and his whereabouts, his comings and goings, and his practices. That was kind of severed, between '99 and 2002. So I'm going to say it's highly unlikely. And I don't think he needs to be involved in it. I think again, him, what he said, he was satisfactory for him. I think he felt vindicated, and I think that it's just given his young self so much peace.
Alrighty. Well, Afi Patterson, I really appreciate your time today. Before we sign you off, anything else about this case that you would like to add?
No, it's just something I'm definitely going to follow and see through. So, and that's it. Thank you for having me. I always love it being here.
All right. Well, Afi Patterson, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Sean Diddy Combs is expected to appear again in federal court on October 9th. Reporting for Law and Crime, I'm Elizabeth Millner.